That little sign in the beginning of my video is a reminder to myself because, first off, I have a tendency to go negative all of the time with anything that happens, and second, because I have been through the ringer as far as life. Like if it could happen to somebody, it's happened to me. So in this video, I kind of wanted to detail a little bit about that positivity and how it's impacted my life. Just being able to find a negative or a positive, a positive in anything that happens. Because what I'm about to tell you is some things that have happened that are crazy. And without being able to find the positive in them, it would have absolutely destroyed me. There's no way I would have made it through. So I want to detail a little bit about what happened to me and what I experienced and how I got through it in hopes that it can help somebody else as well. So I have social phobia, and they prescribed me Zoloft for my social phobia along with Klonopin, and said, oh, you'll be able to get out a little bit more and this and that, because I was kind of I was nervous about going out in public. So they prescribed that to me, and I had the weirdest of reactions. I started at the time I was a writer, but I noticed I was up all night writing, and I loved it. Like, I stayed up to like 4 or 5 in the morning, did not want to go to sleep. This burst of creativity, and at the same time was getting irritable. And it turned out what happened, long story short, is that I had turned manic from the Zoloft, the antidepressant being given to me. But at the time back then, I guess, I mean, this was a while ago. They didn't realize that antidepressants can kick that off. So I became suicidal. I was put in a mental institution for a while because of that. And that's a story for another day, because that was crazy. But I also, lots of suicide attempts actually came from that. It was crazy. I was very out of it, and just beyond help at that point. I was having visual hallucinations, and I'm not a crazy person. Well, it's debatable if I'm a crazy person or not, but I would say that I usually have a mind that is sound, and during this time I was anything but. I was like out of my mind, just literally crazy, hearing things, seeing things, and extremely suicidal, extremely depressed. But then these high creative highs that would come along, and the definition of bipolar. So I wasn't even diagnosed bipolar. That's the start of woes, I guess. That was the start of problems. Right after that, we had a baby that died. My wife at the time was like 9 months. We were waiting for any day for the baby to be delivered. And they went in to check the heartbeat of the baby. She was going in often just because it was so close. Couldn't find the heartbeat, called me. I went down to where she was. She wasn't at the hospital yet. And they did some other tests and found out the baby was dead inside of her. And that ruins a person. I mean, she had to deliver the baby still, and the doctor was actually a friend of ours, and he said, hey, if you guys want morphine, I can get you morphine, like, to go through this. And I remember my wife and I, my ex-wife, that we looked at each other and we were just like, no, we don't want to forget this, what's happening. Like, I didn't want to block it out, even though I was a druggie at the time. Like, I didn't want to miss a thing, kind of. So she delivered him, and I remember holding strong until she did deliver him, and then just falling apart, just laying on her chest crying. Together we were crying, and the doctor started crying. It was horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And that was after being diagnosed bipolar. Then I got hit with that, and then later after that I got hit with a reaction to the antibiotic Levaquin. I had a business I was running. I just started kind of getting back to work because I had gotten off the bipolar meds, the antidepressants. The baby had died, and we'd gone through, processed that as well as we could. But how do you ever process that and fully come to terms with losing somebody like that? Like, I mean, at least we hadn't met him, but I guess that's the only saving grace, or is the bad thing that we weren't able to meet him and spend time with him. But how do you get over that? So I just kind of got my business going again, was getting back to work, and then got hit with this antibiotic Levaquin that hit me. and dropped me. I could not work. I was bedridden. I couldn't do a thing. So from there, the tragedy went to where I ended up, I lost my health. I was bedridden. I couldn't walk. I had anxiety, horrible anxiety from it. And that resulted in me losing my business. So my business fell apart because I wasn't able to work any longer. And then from there, my wife ended up having an affair and left me. So that was bad. Another thing to pile on. This was in the span of like 3 years, 4 years. And then we ended up getting a divorce. I lost my house. I lost everything I owned, my car, and ended up moving back here. So a lot of crazy, and I'm sure there was even more crazy during that time. Other things I could probably bring up that I won't to spare you because it's so much. But you would think, like, how does somebody get through that? How does somebody come to terms with that? I know there's a lot of people that have issues. Like, I'm not the only one that goes through a lot in life. Life can be brutal. Life can wreck you. But it's making a choice whether you're going to let it do that to you, or if you're going to find a way to combat it and a way to get through it. And that's what I did. That's what positivity did. Positivity and finding God. Now, before all of this had happened, when I was younger, I had become a Christian, and I was like rocking with God. Like I was fired up about it. I was listening. I was trying to obey what He wants. We're saved through grace alone, but if we have no works, if we're not showing God that we try to follow what He wants us to do, then we aren't accepting that grace that we've been given. So I followed Him like strongly for a while. I was really fired up about it. I quit things, just cleaned up my life, tried to get rid of my life, tried to obey what He talks about in the Bible. And one of my prayers was, hey, let me become a writer. Let me make money so that I can support my family, and once I do that, like, everything will be great. Well, I did. Like, God blessed me more than I'd asked for. I'd only asked for like $50,000 a year to make, and He blessed me well beyond that with the money I made. But through that and through having the money, I became, I guess, prideful, and I fell away hard. Like, I started accepting more sin into my life and saying things were okay, and all I had to do was believe in Jesus, and I'm saved. But not that I wasn't killing, or, I wasn't cheating on my wife, but I was doing stuff I should not have been doing at the time. So, I wonder sometimes if those of us that know about God, if we decide not to follow Him after we know, if our life turns into a shambles like mine did, like that. All of those things brought me back to God. That is what happened. Like, you would think, like, maybe you'd be angry with God, like, why would you take my baby and this and that? But I'll explain some of the miracles that happened through that time that showed me He was with me. But I didn't have that attitude. I had the attitude that I had to come back to Him. That maybe, and I don't know, maybe God, when we fall away, maybe He comes along and lets all of these things happen to us so that we come back to Him. An example of this is my brother. He's a Christian, or let me back up. He was a Christian before I was a Christian. Now, we weren't raised Christian. We were raised with no religion. But he had found God. He became a Christian at a young age and was a strong Christian as well. And later ended up falling away. And his life right now, looking at it, is a shambles. I won't go into the specifics because it's his story to tell. But he's trying all these different ways of looking how to get his life right, and he's using a lot of self-help things and stuff. And what I find interesting is he and I talk a lot about this, and his position on it is that he can't support or believe in a God that would allow all these bad things to happen to people. And he says, there's an innocent girl and something horrible happens to her, and how could a God of love allow that to happen? And I can understand that, but I believe my thought on that is that God gave us free will, and to give us free will, He has to allow us to do what we want. If He didn't give us free will, we'd be mindless. We would just worship Him and do whatever He wanted. But He gave us this free will because He wants us to choose to come to Him. So I believe that's why bad happens in the world, because these people are given free will, and if they followed God, they wouldn't be doing these crazy things and hurting children or whatever, but they don't. And that's part of free will. That's the So I've tried to explain that to him, that it's free will, and that's why but that doesn't mean we shouldn't worship this God. Like, that's, and then he will say he doesn't believe in him, and he cites a lot of podcasts and different things he's listened to, and I just find that he's spending more time looking at reasons not to believe instead of looking at the reasons, reading the Bible or looking at different podcasts that would talk about why you should believe, and how Jesus can change your life. My life, like I just explained, was going way bad, like to hell in a handbag. And it's turned around. I mean, not that I'm living this amazing life right now, but I have been blessed in my circumstances, and I keep getting blessed since I have turned my life back around, and I'm trying to get through to him. Look, you may have all these problems going on, but if you just turn back to God, if you just realize Jesus died for your sins and you're saved, and you start to try to listen and be obedient to what he asks us to do, then you'll be good. Like, that's all you have to worry about. God will take care of all your other problems. So that's frustrating, and that's kind of a rant about that. But I do, like I said, I do think it's those things, those circumstances, when our life is going so bad, that actually bring us back to God, if we have the right mindset. And I'm trying to get through to my brother to do that, but those bad things stop once you come back to God. I mean, not that bad things never happen to Christians or people that, I'm not even going to say Christian because I don't even like the word Christian. There's so many bad associations with that. But if you're a follower of Jesus and you try to love others as he did and love only God, then things will happen, things improve, things get better, your whole heart is changed. Like the Holy Spirit changes your heart and makes things better. Like, even in my circumstance, I still find joy, but I'm not having all these horrible things that are happening, and I wish that he wouldn't as well. I'm going to have to make this into a 2-part video, because this will be part 1, just because there's a lot more to explain about it. There's a couple other subjects I wanted to maybe touch on here. I'm sure I'm going to think of something. My mind's racing with ideas of what to talk about. So I'm going to leave that on the table here. We're going to continue that one on in a minute. I've been trying to think of a new name for my channel. I'm not really sure. This is kind of starting to feel like, if I keep going along with this kind of videos, like a podcast of one, maybe, one boring person not talking about anything that interesting. But I kind of thought about podcast of one, or maybe Shades of Grey, since my name is Grady, or Graydon, my full name. So Shades of Grey, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if people are still enjoying this. It feels like just like a ramble to me. But if you're enjoying it, let me know. And if you have any ideas for a name for the channel, please throw them down below. I'd like to try to change it from just my name, like get something that would kind of define what I'm going to do here with telling about my life and stuff. Anyways, that's it for this week. I don't want to go too long on the videos, just try to keep them kind of slow and mellow. But next week, don't forget to tune in, because this is going to be a 2-parter. I want to talk about the story I was telling you earlier with God and stuff, and what he did for me, along with the vision that I've had from God that I want to explain to you. It's one that was confirmed by somebody else too that witnessed this, so it's not just me. It was a vision from God to me, and I want to share it with you because it's pretty wild. I wanted to talk, like, maybe next time about dates from hell, and I was thinking maybe, I don't know, just some crazy stuff. I'm going to try to just keep coming up with stuff in my mind that I want to ramble about and talk to you guys. So if you do appreciate this video, please let me know in the comments below. I always worry that these aren't interesting to people, so if you find it interesting, please throw a like, please throw a comment, please subscribe. All those things help me. And if you feel so inclined, please support this channel on Patreon. You can make a one-time donation, the link's below, or you can have one come each month, like $1 or $2, just come each month. It would be awesome to make a little income off of these videos. But I do enjoy sharing. It's great therapy, and if you're interested in listening, I appreciate it, and I'm kind of shocked. Anyways, thank you, and until next time.